Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Well, what we have here is what's very interesting that was going on with the JFK files. Because from what I've been gathering, and one of some of the information we've been finding out is that Israel may have had a lot of issues, right? Where in terms of Israel may be the reason why JFK has been killed, but we don't know that yet. We only have some allegations or some things that are going on, at least from what we see from the documents. So we're going to be going to go through those a little bit today, and then we'll be moving on with our lives. All right. So without further ado, my friends, we have this here from Colin Rogg saying newly released JFK files tell a story about how Gary Underhill, who worked for the CIA, was found dead after he revealed for friends that the CIA was responsible for JFK's assassination. Which I would not be surprised if the CIA was responsible for JFK's assassination. I mean, if you go and look at any of our governmental agencies or have you, then you could easily find out that these agencies can't really be trusted. I mean, the ones with the Epstein files, which, by the way, Pam Bondi, I'm still waiting on that one. So, yeah, it's really quite interesting on what's going on here. The day after the assassination, Gary Underhill left Washington in a hurry. Late in the evening, he showed up at the home of friends in New Jersey. He was very agitated. A small clique within the CIA was responsible for the assassination. He confided, and he was afraid for his life and probably would have to leave the country. Less than 6 months later, until Underhill was found shot to death in his Washington apartment, the coroner ruled it suicide. So again, this is what we have here, right, with the actual documents at hand, and it is interesting to say the least. I mean, I don't know what else to really say. It That's what's going on here. Now, so we'll read a bit of this. It says the day after the assassination, Gary Underhill left Washington in a hurry. Late in the evening, he showed up at the home of friends in New Jersey. He was very agitated. A small clique within the CIA was responsible for the assassination. He confided and he was afraid for his life and probably would have to leave the country. Less than 6 months later, Underhill was found shot to death in his Washington apartment. The coroner ruled it suicide. J. Garrett Underhill had been an intelligence agent during World War II and was a recognized authority on limited warfare and small arms. A researcher and writer on military affairs, he was on a first-name basis with many of the top brass in the Pentagon. He was also in intimate terms within the with a number of high-ranking CIA officials. He was one of the agency's people who performed special assignments. At one time, he had been a friend of Samuel Cummings of Intromanco, the arms broker that numbers among its customers the CIA, and ironically claims supporting goods of Chicago, from whence the mail order of Concano allegedly was purchased by Oswald. Goes on to say here, my friends, that the friends whom Underhill visited say he was sober but badly shook. They say he attributed the Kennedy murder to a CIA clique which was carrying a lucrative racket in gun running, narcotics, and other contraband, and manipulating political intrigue to serve its own ends. Kennedy supposedly got wind that something was going on and was killed before he could blow the whistle on it. Although the friends had always been Underhill to be perfectly rational and objective, they at first didn't take his account seriously. I think the main reason was, explains the husband, that we couldn't believe that the CIA could contain a corrupt element every bit as ruthless and more efficient as the mafia. The verdict of suicide in Underhill's death is by no means convincing. His body was found by a writing collaborator, Asher Burns, of the New Republic. He had been shot behind the left car, and an automatic pistol was under his left side. Odd says Burns, because Underhill was right-handed, Burns thinks the pistol was fitted with a silencer, and occupants of the apartment building could not recall hearing a shot. So that's what we have here. Now we have this from the quartering, and this is also another thing that's been put here, right? So this is where things get interesting, where some of these things are related to Israel, or possibly Israel. And it's quite interesting on what we have here. Now, some of this stuff is kind of faded or gone because, this is from obviously 1965 or what have you. So, I mean, I don't see these documents or these things to kind of be in good condition. But I think the big thing that we have to read here from is that for the information of all the officers concerned, It says 21265, which I may believe is what we have here, advised on November 26, 1963, they had heard that one, again, I can't read that correctly because some of this stuff is blurred, allegedly had been attempting to negotiate a sale of machine guns to one rumor Esvarar, I think that's what it says, and that Echevarria allegedly had made a comment the day before the assassination of President John F. Kennedy that he said, it says, "We know we have plenty of money. Our new backers are Jews. As soon as we or they take care of Kennedy." Now, that is very, very concerning, guys. So, as I said, I am not a person that is for Hamas. I am not a person that is for Israel. I don't really care about Israel. I don't put Jews on this high standard just because they went through a horrible, horrible massacre and killing other people. Does not mean that these people get to dictate what America does. It gets to have a higher authority, etc. just because they're Jews. I do not believe in that. However, I will say that I will criticize Jews when they are when they have these type of allegations, and they're going to have to prove on why they did or did not do this. So, that being said, I think it comes clear that perhaps that the Jews may have something to do with this. Israel specifically might have something to do with this, and this does not necessarily mean, per se, that all Jews, especially all Jews, are a problem with this, right? Because, as you know, the American people doesn't really like their government, very much so. So anything that our American government necessarily does, that it doesn't mean we agree with everything. For example, we do not agree with going to war constantly everywhere. We do not agree with this. So, that being said, to think that we would be agreed to go, we would think that Israel, the government in itself, is all for, wanting to kill JFK does not mean the rest of the Jews or their countrymen, etc., or their people, whichever one is spin it, would be obliged for this. But this does mean that the government had something to play, as we're seeing here. Now, this is a massive allegation. This is huge. And I think Israel has to respond. Otherwise, I'm just going to think that just maybe Israel has something to do with this. It's pretty bad, and I don't think it's looking very good on them at all. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy, pretty crazy. So, guys, that's what we have here with the JFK stuff. There's not too much else to really say. People are still combing through it. I am gonna comb through it. What's going on here, and yeah, some people said it's not really too shocking, but I don't know. The whole Israel thing is pretty darn shocking. Like, that is a pretty massive allegation. There's even more to go on with this, all right? So what we have here is this with the Israel situation. Now, we have this here. So all we're going to do is just read the bottom half, all right? We're not going to read the whole thing here because that's just insane. So, again, what we have here is, we'll start where we can see it. During conversation with turned on tape player for sound making and explained his home had not yet been tested for bugs. A simple test is turn off all appliances and check electrical meter. There is also more sophisticated tests. Cho phone spouse and a Cario and had Cario speak with her. Gave CO2 small gifts, marble head of Nefertiti and paper paintings. Subject's brother-in-law, a police major, is no good. He asked his father-in-law for money. Saudi attached a Wadi El Tawfiqi. Maybe the Saudi intel wants her in edits, but judge is not yet sure. Israel is no good. Israel was behind the JFK assassination. Subject cheated on his wife only 3 times, all in addicts in the last 8 months. He feels guilty, but remains found local girlfriend, Helen, whatever. These things are irrelevant. I don't care about what his past life is. What matters is if he was actually assassinated. So, again, that's also another thing, too. These are being other allegations. Now, Ben Shapiro has something to say about this, so we can also listen to his side of the things as well. Which, by the way, I'm not a huge fan of Ben Shapiro. I'm not a huge fan of Daily Wire in general. I don't really like that company all that much.
sort of conspiracy theorizing that's become incredibly popular on the right these days. It was popular on the left, and now it's become increasingly popular on the right. The kind of, let's just ask questions. We'll ask, who really killed JFK? Wink, wink, nod, nod. And then you're like, well, do you have any evidence of the thing that you are presupposing? Well, no, I'm not making any accusations. I just know I don't believe the story that I'm being told. I know not to trust the authorities. Like, well, that's fine, but do you have like any evidence? Like evidence, not just supposition. I said, well, you're part of it, aren't you? You're part of it. The reason that you're so defensive about all this is, I don't care who killed JFK. I mean, I do, because it's really interesting, but I noticed that the calendar says 2025 and he was killed in 1963. And so my opinion about who killed JFK has about as much relevance as who killed William McKinley, or James Garfield, which is to say not an enormous amount.
This is insane coming from Ben Shapiro. He is really trying to play defensive or trying to say, oh, well, the Jews didn't do it. The Jews didn't do it. Okay, but but the documents are saying otherwise here. Like it's indicating that the Jews potentially have done this. So we are just asking questions, you freaking Nimrod. The reason why we're asking questions is because why would the Jews do this? Why are they in these documents specifically with Israel related to the JFK stuff? Why is this ongoing? Like we're asking these questions because we want to know the full truth of it all. So again, 10 days, again, Blair Wright says 10 days before JFK was assassinated, he demanded the CIA to be brief on UFOs. So again, this is also being related to CIA. So it's the CIA and the Israel government. Are they in cahoots with each other, and are they the ones that killed JFK? That is the only other thing that we could possibly have here, right? So, I mean, there are a lot of things that we need to turn up. It's like you're just trying to discredit of, oh, it's not a big deal. It's been a huge thing in the U.S. country for decades. Don't come out here, Ben Shapiro, and say like, oh, it's not a big deal, when it's been a big deal for the American people for decades now, for at least 30 plus years. You do not have the ability or the gall to say, oh, well, I don't care for it, just because your people, Israel, Jews, may have been possibly the reason why this happened. So again, I don't want to hear crap from you, all right? I am so sick and tired of Daily Wire, and I'm sick of Ben Shapiro because of this BS. The Jews should be criticized if they are the ones that orchestrated this. Plain and simple. And asking questions is perfectly fine, because we do not put Jews on a higher pedestal compared to everybody else. We don't put blacks on a higher pedestal than everybody else. We put them on the same leveling field as everybody else in this country, and the fact of the matter is you're playing defensive about it is sad. It's disgusting, Ben Shapiro, and I don't understand why people even listen to you anymore. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Let's guys share. As always, take care, my friends.